Hello, thank you for visiting my channel. My name is Ara, my channel name is Uncle Kitty Cat, and today I will be discussing Traveler by L.E.Delano. Let's jump right in. Okay, so first off, I want to say sorry that my hair is wet. I just got out of the shower and I decided to film right now while there is like a bunch of sunlight literally coming into my window right now. So Traveler, you guys, okay, I am absolutely in love with this book. I read it last year, I think somewhere around July. As soon as I finished reading it, I was looking for the sequel. I was so ready to find out what happened next, and I was completely distraught when I found out that the sequel wouldn't come for about another year because the book had just come out. So I didn't have anyone to talk about the book with, so I actually messaged L.E.Delano because I basically started stalking her on her Instagram account, and I sent her this message about how her book was so amazing, how I loved Finn and I loved Jessa, and she actually wrote me a really sweet reply. Okay, so these are all the things I loved about the book. There is a lot. It's almost like every 10 pages or something, probably more. So for the non-spoiler section, this book, first of all, I read a lot of reviews on Goodreads and other pages of the internet where some people went into this book and ended up not liking it because they were under the impression that it was a book about time travel. So first off, I just wanted to make it clear right now that this book is not about time travel. Sorry, Doctor Who fans. This book is about traveling through alternate dimensions or alternate realities, you know, AU, which I personally find so much more fascinating. So this book is told in the narration of Jessa, who is the main character of this novel. She is in high school, she is super witty, super logical, and just really refreshing because she doesn't make stupid decisions, and she's just so funny. Her commentary throughout her thoughts and her inner dialogue is just the most hilarious thing in the world. It makes it easy to read this book in one go because it's such an intriguing read. So basically what happens is Jessa is a writer. She actually has a lot of dreams and a lot of inspirations revolving around this one really hot, dark-haired, green-eyed guy. And so she writes a lot of stories about him ever since she could remember, basically. And so one day, while she's helping her friend Ben volunteer at this candy stand, her dream guy suddenly shows up out of nowhere, casually leaning against a wall beside the store they're near, and asks her out for coffee. This is what really intrigued me to read the book. Like, imagine you're writing a character, and all of a sudden he appears out of nowhere into your real life. Like, imagine seeing Jace Wayland out of nowhere. That's exactly what happened, actually. Kind of in City of Bones, not really. There's a really good explanation for why she sees this guy and why she's been dreaming about him, and he helps her discover a little bit about herself, well, actually a lot about herself that she hadn't known before. And I could go on explaining what goes on and what she's going through and who she is, but I think it's a lot better if you just dive right into this book without knowing much, because the author, L.E.Delano, she does a really amazing job explaining the universe and explaining the special abilities of the characters and the specific rules. Like, she spent so much time clarifying different situations and what would happen if this, or that. So she does a fantastic job all on her own just explaining everything. So just dive right in. I promise you it's an easy read. I read this in literally a day, and it's literally about like 315 pages long. Yeah, somewhere around there. So there is a slight love triangle in this story, but it gets resolved pretty easily, so I don't think that's much of an issue. I personally, I mean, you know, there was angst around it, but I like the way it turned out. I like the way things were played. So that's it for the non-spoiler section. If you want to go ahead and pick up this book and read it, I promise you, well, I don't want to promise you, but in my opinion, you will not regret it because I absolutely love this book. There was not a single thing I did not like about it. Go ahead and pick it up. You most likely will not regret it, I promise you. People who did not like the book, from what I saw, they didn't like the book because they went into it thinking it was a time traveling book, and it's not. It's an interdimensional or alternate universe traveling book. So as long as you go into this book knowing that, I think you will like it very much. So bye, non-spoiler people. Come back when you are done reading this book. Alright, let's do this. First off, can I just say that ending though? Let's not start with the ending. No. Let's leave that for the end. It's a really heavy ending. Okay. So this book reminded me of three things. One, it reminded me of the book Fallen, or the series Fallen, in that in Fallen, the two main love interests, they are like eternally in love with each other, they're soulmates or something like that. But in every life, or every time she reaches 16 years old or something and she meets him, she dies, right? Which is like the most funny thing in the world, because I think in the first book, when the main character first meets her soulmate in, you know, her new life, he literally flicks her off. She's like, what the heck? What did I do to him? I didn't do anything. And he's just like, screw you, because you're in my life again, which means we're starting the cycle all over. So yeah, that sort of plotline reminded me of this book, and that Jessa and Finn can't seem to stay alive together, which is so heartbreaking. Like, I just want them to have a happy life together. It also reminded me of that one Supernatural episode. It's season 3, episode 11. Spoiler alert. Yeah, so in that episode, Dean keeps on dying again and again in the funniest ways. Like, he gets hit by a piano, he gets bitten by a dog, and I'm pretty sure the dog eats him or something. Or maybe, like, it hits an artery that's really important. I don't know. And then he gets food poisoning by, like, a taco or something, or Chinese takeout. Like, he keeps on dying in all the most ridiculous, random, funny ways. And there's even a montage of it, which is, like, if you guys don't watch Supernatural, I strongly suggest to start with that episode, season 3, episode 11. It's hilarious and it's everything good. So it reminded me of that in here, and that Jessa keeps on dying. And it also reminded me of Fangirl, because when you read Fangirl, throughout each chapter, or like I think in between chapters, you get like a snippet of her fanfic, and in this book you get snippets of Jessa's writing, which is like so cool. But the difference is that in Fangirl, it's like not embedded into the story, whereas in this book, Jessa's writing prompts are actually part of the story, because they're her memories of her past lives or alternate realities with Finn. Dun, dun, dun. I also really love how, like, every different reality has different slang, they have different language, like Glitter Moose, that one reality with Glitter Moose. Okay, so Glitter Moose, let's talk about Glitter Moose, you guys. I would die for some Glitter Moose. Like, it looks like whipped cream, but it's blue and sparkly, and when you eat, like, spoons of it, your tongue gets, like, silvery, or it glows magical. Like, I want some Glitter Moose. That sounds really delicious, too. Alright, we have to talk about Pirate Finn, you guys. So the very first description we get of Finn, it's literally just green eyes, dark hair. I am slightly ashamed to say that as soon as I read that, I automatically fell in love with the character. I didn't know his name, I didn't know his personality, but because he had dark hair, green eyes, in my head, I'm like Percy Jackson, and in my head, I'm like Insta-bae. Good meeting you, Finn. Again. You won't be easily forgotten, Jessa. I can't do an Irish accent. He reaches for my hand, bringing it to his lips. I stare at him a moment, trying hard not to like him so much. He's entirely too charming, this Finn, and he knows it too. Pirate Finn clearly tells her, I kind of like you more than my actual Jessa. And Jessa's, she's just an emotional pancake around him. Their endgame. This Jessa and that Pirate Finn, they're definitely endgame. Her actual Finn was super jealous of Pirate Finn. Maybe she has a thing for enchanted pirates. Maybe she hasn't noticed your smell yet. I'm just so heartbroken for like actual Finn's background. So Finn had a little brother, and Finn obviously had a mother who were killed while he went out to get food. I was heartbroken when I read this. Finn was literally Katniss looking for food in this apocalyptic world where everything was gone. Ben, I felt so bad for Ben. Then Ben bamboozles Jessa into a date. I was like, wow, Ben, you had to stoop to that level to get your date with her. Like, please move on. You deserve so much better. Like, Jessa just is not interested in you. Please. There's like 100 girls out there in your school who would die for a date with you, and I'm pretty sure at least one of them is nice and has a great personality, so just go widen your horizons, dude. Jessa literally has to get concussed because she gets hit by the beam, or she almost gets hit by the beam at the drama club thing. So she's literally concussed, and Ben is so smooth about it too. Yeah, she gave me free passes to the ghost tour if you want to go. Yeah, so I'll pick you up at 6. We can hit dinner before. Okay, she says. My forehead creases as I realize I just got maneuvered into a date. Ben is looking entirely too pleased with himself. Ben keeps getting friend-zoned so hard by Jessa. It's like, Ben, can't you take a hint? she doesn't want to date you. Like when they go together to go watch a movie and he puts his arm around her and she's like, I am so aware of his arm. So she like leans forward and talks to him. Yeah, so this movie, huh? And so what do you think about fate? And then she leans back and she remembers his arm again. She's like, yeah, so... And Ben finally just like, he sighs and he removes his arm, and it's like... In the Victorian reality where Pirate Finn resides, after Ben leaves Jessa, this girl named Olivia comes up and she's like, hey, I'm so interested in Ben and I'm so glad you're officially taken now because now I can stop hating you for, you know, endangering my prospects with Ben. So I'm wondering if in the next book, if in Dreamers, we're gonna see this Olivia in Jessa's reality, because that would be really interesting to see Ben get, you know, his own girlfriend who actually appreciates him and adores the heck out of him like he deserves. Obviously no shade to Jessa because I completely ship Finn and Jessa. Like, you can't not ship Finn and Jessa, especially Pirate Finn and Jessa. So we finally learn why Jessa is being targeted, and it's because she is the only living prime descendant, or the only living descendant of the prime Beatrix. What confuses me is that, so if Beatrix Prime is the original traveler, then wouldn't it make sense that her reality stream is the original reality stream? Wouldn't that mean that Jessa's reality stream is the original reality stream? Or how is Jessa exactly a descendant of Beatrix Prime? Doesn't that mean that it's like in the same universe or the same reality? Or does it mean that her timeline directly drifts from Beatrix Prime? Because if it's the latter definition, then it doesn't make any sense, because the other timelines, don't they all diverge from the one prime, you know? L.E.Delano, her writing is perfection. She has a son who has autism in real life. So in this book we have, what's his name? Danny. So we have Danny who has autism. And I think it's amazing how she was able to incorporate a disabled character, but bring him to life because of her background knowledge and because of her actual experiences with autism. I think that was such a beautifully well done. I learned so much about autism that I hadn't known before, actually. Like when Jessa explains to a passerby that the reason why the kid reacted the way he did was because his mind couldn't process the different feelings between hot and cold, and his startlement, you know, Jessa startled him when she pushed him over accidentally. So his mind couldn't process so many different changes all at once, and that's why he was freaking out, which was like, you know, an interesting way to understand the way autism affects the functioning of the mind a little bit better. And I also love how there was that one reality where Danny did not have autism, and like how Jessa wanted to ask him 1,000 questions, but she realized that even if she did and could and he had answers for her, it wouldn't be her Danny, because her Danny is not this Danny. So there's an important distinction between your essence and yourself. L.E.Delano does such a beautiful job of incorporating all these answers into the novel slowly, without feeling like she's spoon feeding us, without feeling like she's dumping all this information on us all at once. She does it in just the perfect doses and the perfect places where it's incorporated naturally into the conversation, which is like, so, it's not easy to do. It takes art to do that skillfully. Also, Jessa's writing is so poetic, and it's beautiful because it's actually different from L.E.Delano's like narration of Jessa's like story. I really like how Jessica, or I keep on calling her Jessica, I really like how Jessa goes to Mario and she tells him, you're asking for a lot of trust here, like how do I know that you're not making me start World War III by having me spill my drink on this kid or having me give this girl this book? Like, how do I know what you're doing is for the good of humanity and not the bad? I don't completely trust Mario right now. Like, I know Mario wants to save her, that's really obvious. Dreamers can be potentially really dangerous. They're like gods, basically. They have full control over your subconscious mind. Like, that's really freaky. The end, when they go to rescue Finn, and Finn is underneath all those rocks and boulders, I could not believe it. When I first read the book, I was like, maybe he disappeared, maybe he traveled. But Jessa saw his arm. Well, we don't really know if it was his arm. We assume it was his arm because who else would be in the mines at that time when they were there? I was so pissed off at Ben. I was incredibly pissed off at Ben when he held Jessa back at first from going to find Finn, or when he like pulled her to get her out safely. Like, I know he was just saving her, but I wanted her to get Finn's hand too so that they could both make it out of the mine alive. Then the epilogue, when we get to see Pirate Finn's reality. Jessa is being buried. He throws a rose into her coffin and he makes a vow to avenge her. And so he travels, he goes and travels, and that's when you know, when Jessa's Finn is dead and Pirate Finn's Jessa's dead, Pirate Finn and Jessa are endgame. So I'm happy that we for sure are going to get more Pirate Finn, but obviously devastated that our Finn died. There's this one part where Finn is explaining to Jessa how circumstances can drastically alter the future, you know, because the whole point of travelers is to go change one little thing that will cause a ripple effect that will eventually do something good or for the greater good of humankind. But that reminds me, when I was in high school, I was part of the IB program, and there's this one joke my AP World History professor made where he's like, guys, do not lose your pens, okay? It will literally be the death of you, because if you lose your pen, you can't do your homework. If you can't do your homework, you're gonna fail a class. If you fail a class, you don't get your IB diploma. If you don't get your IB diploma, you're not gonna go to college. If you don't go to college, you're not gonna get a job. If you don't have a job, you're not gonna have money. And if you don't have money, you're gonna be homeless. And if you're homeless, you're most likely gonna die because you don't have any food. So that is how losing a pen leads to death, according to Mr. Gast. Thank you for that. I am so excited for Dreamers. Comment down below if you're excited for it. There's actually a bunch of arcs that have been distributed already, and I'm so jealous of everybody who's got one because they get to see what happens. If you guys have anything else you liked about Traveler or you didn't like, or if you just want to fangirl about it with me together, comment down below. I'd be happy to read your comments and to see how you guys like it. And that is all I have to say about this book. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely day. Hit like if you like this video. Subscribe if you want to see more. I will be posting videos every week, at least once a week. So yeah, bye. No, how do you do it?
Later, losers. Don't actually do that, because then they're gonna be like, I'm not a loser. And they're gonna report you for harassment.